One. True Sound Studios. What's up, everybody? We are live Tuesday night. We're here. We got a good one for you. We got a guest in the building. We're going to get it started. You're watching Young Lion TV.
8:30 on the dot.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
That's right. We're here. Once again, it's Tuesday night, and we do this every Tuesday. We're here live at True Sound Studios in Camden, New Jersey, and we're going to get this thing going. We got a guest in the building, but first I want to introduce everyone that's here tonight. I want to thank everyone who's watching, first of all. We want to say what's up to all the people in the chat. I see Jaden's in there. We got Glenn, Fox, Mr. Fox, what's going on? We got a bunch of people. Maurice Robinson, everybody who's watching right now, make sure you give it a share, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And also, you know, if you want to support the podcast, support the Young Lions, go to the Patreon, patreon.com/Young Lion TV, and you can become a member there, and you can support us. So, yeah, we got Jake sitting next to me for the first time in a while. My brother right there. We got Simone in the building, Moon sitting over there. We got the showing up again after a few weeks off.
After some hiatus.
The half black, half Indian with the Spanish last name, James Garcia. And then on the ones and twos, of course, we got Miss Rachel Rota.
What up?
But I want to get into it. I want to introduce our guest this evening, who is making us all look underdressed right now because he's coming from, you know, doing big things. We have a author and realtor and businessman and entrepreneur. We have Mr. Jack Harris in the building. And everyone, you know, check him out. He's got a book that we're going to be talking about that he's doing. It's called The Revelation of Wealth.
12 streams.
12
so
streams.
Discover your 12 streams of income. So I'm going to teach folk how to discover what they would need to know about themselves. It was given to me years ago, and we'll talk about it. Over 20 years ago, it was given to me, but the revelation took a little time to come to its own head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where does the 12 streams come? Doesn't it seem? And I noticed that like 12 shows up a lot on people. Like when people give like these self-help or like these informational teachings, 12 is always used a lot. Okay. So why 12? I'm just curious.
I don't know where theirs came from, but mine came literally from God's word.
Okay.
It was one night, and as you read the book, you'll see how it actually originated. But one night during one of the darkest times of my life, he told me to go to the Word, told me to read the Word. And I went to 1 Samuel, and he showed me David. Mm-hmm. And in David is where everything exploded from. I mean, literally, the 12 streams of income are in David. And then he took me to Revelations and explained it to me and broke down exactly how and what we go through in life and how that actually develops us into not only discovering our strength, but allowing that strength to manifest, because we're generally trying to find, what is it I can do? What can I do? What have I been given to do? Well, we've been given a lot of things that we can do, and all of them we can do, and we can do them well. The Lord showed me that at a time in my life, it was a rough time. So, you know, you would think he would show you something when everything is going great. Right. It wasn't then. It was when things were going crazy.
It seems to never work that way.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah,
But just to give people a little heads up, what are some of the things that you do business-wise that you've seen success in, like some of the things that you do just as a business person?
Sure. Probably my greatest joy has been in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. I started, I've been in this game 30 some odd years. Wow. And I've gone through the good days and the bad days. I've gone through the ups and downs. I was in it when the market went crazy, and I just didn't believe that the market could go possibly crazy. And I was wrong. It went crazy, and I was in the middle of being crazy. But as a result of all of those things, it showed me how to not only be resilient, but how to allow those tough times to make us stronger and to make you stronger. And a lot of that's in the book. Back in the '02, '03, '04s, we literally had 4 offices. I was franchised in Jersey and in Pennsylvania, over
Okay.
100 agents, and just figured there was nothing that could go wrong. Nothing could happen. Everything was wonderful. But it was in that I learned that life happens. And when life happens, it really is giving us an opportunity to go through a wilderness.
Right.
And as a result, being in the wilderness, we have a tendency to get stronger if we don't give up. And that's where the 12 streams come from. A lot of times people will say, all right, I found what I can do, so this is my gift, this is my purpose, this is the reason why he made me. And I found that that's not necessarily so. It might just be one of the areas. There are some keys that we have to understand. So what I do is, first thing I do is give people in the book, give you a chance to understand, okay, I'm going to put you in a corner in your life. Everybody goes through one. Keep living. If you haven't hit it yet, it's going to happen. In that corner, I show you how not only to come out of the corner, but first use some keys to open a door. So we give you the backdrop that you're in a house, dark, locked in a room, and you can see a glimpse out of a dirty window that says, I believe it's nice outside. That's the majority of people's dreams. The majority of folks' dreams is, I want to get to where I'm going. I want to get there, and I want to hurry up and get there. Well, the hurry up part doesn't necessarily happen, but we have to learn as we go. So the first thing I show you are 5 keys to get out of this room. And I'll share one. Okay, and the first one, it's elementary, but it will be paramount if you get it. And the first one is trust yourself. How often do we trust everybody around us, trust that somebody's going to do something for us, trust that what they believe for us is what we would believe for ourselves? And we have a tendency a lot of times never to trust ourselves. But the first key is to trust yourself, because once you can do that, everything else can work. Literally, everything else can work.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I noticed that you had like the analogy of like the 12 walls. And
Yeah, and those, they literally came from the book of Revelation.
Right, and is that where the title came from? Revelation of Wealth is because of tying it into the book of Revelation.
That sounds good. I'm not necessarily.
That's my conspiracy mind tying it together. See that ties in.
It sounds good. It sounds good. It wasn't necessarily there. The revelation is a part of your discovery.
Right.
And life gives us the ability to discover some things. And as we discover them, we generally say, well, I'm going to kick that to the curb because I've discovered something else.
Right.
So my grandmother would always say, whatever you do, be the best at it. So she would say, literally, if you're a street sweeper, then be the best street sweeper that there is. Your street should be the best street out, the one that you sweep. And a lot of times we'll say, okay, I got the street thing down, but now I've learned how to wash cars. So as a result of now knowing how to wash cars, and because it pays more washing cars than sweeping streets, I'm no longer a street sweeper because now I'm a car washer. Well, that's not the way to discover all of what's inside of you. So what I break down in the book is how to go through stages in life. And I've been through the stages in life. I mean, if you can talk about it, I done been there at least once. I told my oldest daughter, whatever you go through, baby, call me because I've been there at least once. So we show you how to discover these things, and you don't give up anything. It really becomes an exciting part of life when you're going through life discovering, as opposed to just running into walls and running into things and saying, well, this doesn't work. And a lot of those pitfalls, a lot of those holes, a lot of times when we fell down, those are places that we actually do get strong if we allow ourselves to get strong. And we understand that what we're doing is discovering. See, and it's not, and listen, I had to learn it the hard way. I didn't want to discover. It was time in my life, if I would have had the means to have that 45 or that Magnum or whatever around me, I'd have took my head off. It had gotten to that point where I just wanted to take myself out, literally. Now, I know you guys ain't never been there because I can tell. You don't have any gray hairs yet, so you haven't gone through nothing yet.
He got some in the beard there. The facial hair is just getting gray.
But, thank God and thank at least courage and my family. They kept me going, but it was inside of all of those things that you begin to discover. And that's where the book came from. This book is 22 years old in the making. So it's been 22 years that we've been working on putting and getting this book together. And I got to thank David Still, because I gave him one. I said, man, I want you to take a look at this. And he said, Jack, I'm at page 26, and I can't put it down yet. He said, well, look, you need to come out and sit down with these guys and explain a little bit.
Yeah,
so we'll have the book ready by the first of the year, but, a sneak peek.
That's good. We appreciate getting the exclusive. I was able to skim through a little bit because Dave gave it to me last night.
Okay.
So I was, and none of these guys have even seen it, so I was able to skim through it a little bit. But so speak about that a little bit. Dave is our manager. For those that do know, of course, he's like our big brother, our business partner here. And we know you through. Dave, we met you at the Christmas party last year.
Yeah. Awesome.
And you also helped us get our first property, and we all worked to get that done and just sold that last month. And so how did you link up with Dave? How did you start working with him in the first place?
Came to a friend of mine, a friend that I've known many years, a banker at, she runs.
Tracy.
Okay. Yeah, she runs the Bank of America. Every place she's been, I met her years ago when I first opened my first office, and I went to, and I need some help. I said, look, I need somebody to open this account for me, and don't treat me like a person that just came out of nowhere. And she said, I got you. And we've been friends since then. And she said, I have somebody that you need to meet. He wants to do some things, and I believe you'd be able to help him. So I said, well, let me meet him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to talk to him. I like to meet folk because I want to feel your energy, and I want you to feel mine. Mm-hmm. And after we sat down, he said, bruh, let's make this thing happen. Mm-hmm. And it was one thing he said, man, that I'll never forget. He said, listen, I'm here now. Whatever you need, let's get it done.
Right.
And those are his words.
That's Dave.
Always, yeah, let's get it done. So we've been doing just that. We're doing just that. Yeah.
How were you introduced to real estate? Like, what was the first time you saw it and you started realizing I have a passion for this thing?
Well, that's a story within itself. I, when I was younger, 30 years ago, probably now 35 years ago, I was a pharmaceutical rep. I'll say it that way. I was a pharmaceutical rep, and I was the head chemist, the bottle washer, the cook, the salesman, and the one that with acquisition. So you'll get that one tomorrow sometime.
Yeah, wear many hats.
yeah, some real hats. I was born and raised in the inner city.
Okay. Inner
city of Philadelphia, North Philly. So there's only a couple things that you do in North Philly to really make some money, and that was pharmaceutical business.
Right.
So. And when I was getting married for the second time, one of the things I realized I couldn't do was continue in that line of work.
Right.
That line of work had its risks.
Right.
And those risks weren't necessarily a good risk. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was always somebody after you, just didn't know who, when, where, or how. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed getting money. I enjoyed spending money. And I wanted to try and find something that could keep up with that lifestyle, okay, and something that I could do and wouldn't be tied down, but could actually move. And the real estate business was one that I looked at. And a friend of mine, Bill Becker at the time, he had this school where he was teaching people how to make money in real estate. So I said, well, let me go to this school. It cost me $5,000 to go to school to learn how to invest in real estate. Well, of course, I paid the $5,000, and what I realized, everybody there were brokers. So that means they had took the long way through, and now they was going to try to teach me how to get a shortcut. How many folk know there are no shortcuts in life?
Right.
There's no shortcuts in life. I thought I was going to get one, but it wasn't. Make a long story short, I went to school, got my license, and I always had the grind, the hustle. My grandmother, who was probably one of my biggest supporters, she said, listen, baby, you have to get up earlier than everybody, and you have to work twice as hard to stay even.
Right.
So I would always get up now 3:30 in the morning every day.
Wow.
How you doing this tonight, Jack? I had coffee, I had energy bar, right? So once I began the real estate process, I found that you're limited only by yourself. I mean, some agents say, well, if I have one closing a month, I can live off of that. Well, that wasn't my story. I didn't want one a month. I didn't want to have nothing per month. And we began to grow. I opened an office, and agents started coming. I started teaching agents how to do the business. I said, well, my passion now turned into teaching agents how to be successful. And we opened 4 offices. We had 2 in Jersey and 2 in PA. And in that, between 08 and 010, which was another wall, Okay, between '08 and '10, I shut down 4 offices. So it went from a whole lot to not much. Okay.
But that was the
Recession,
bubble crash.
I didn't see it coming, because I had been around. I had gone through markets that was crazy. Who
Was
would have
that one of
ever
the
thought?
craziest markets
Oh,
though?
man.
Like I remember just the
Yeah.
astronomical amount that.
Foreclosures.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
everywhere. It was everywhere.
And it happened immediately too. It felt
Right.
like it just happened like that.
Well, it was a process, okay? And I had just took a whole lot of money I had in my pocket and opened up a brand new office in Sicklerville. Had marble on the floors, had all new. You name it. I purchased 2 buildings. Just did it all because we were on our way up. Because I had lived through markets. I had lived through when people's income had fell, but their mindset, their belief was up.
Right.
And then I had been through the markets where the interest rates went through the roof, and we were taking second mortgages. But I had never went through a market where income and confidence had both fell.
Right.
And that's when people started jumping out the window. And literally, a lot of folk lost a lot of things, and I lost a lot as well. I'm not here to tell you it didn't,
Yeah.
because it was a fight. But the process was worth it. Now, would I would like to do it again? No, I don't want to do that. Heck no. You know what I mean? I don't curse, but if I did, I would have said hell no.
Right.
But
there's
I
a
don't
lesson.
curse.
There was a lesson to learn from a big
everything.
lesson. Yeah.
Life is a lesson.
Right.
Every day is a lesson if we allow it to be the lesson. Sometimes experiences that we go through, we don't want to go through the experiences, but the experience is necessary.
Right.
Because watch what we're doing. Watch this. We're discovering. And once I can have you to understand that everything that we go through, everything that you go through in life, if you're discovering more about yourself, more about where you're going, then there's never a bad day. Bad times are not bad times. They're times, okay?
Right.
Because I'm discovering inside those times. And then the process went to where I learned and began to learn, all right, I got buyers and sellers, and I have agents, and that wasn't enough. So now let's go and discover investing. And so I had to study a whole new marketplace. But as a result, there are more people in that marketplace, another group of people. So we learn it. And all of that is broken down somewhat in the book, in terms of not necessarily how the real estate goes, because I'm working on another book right now, but not necessarily how real estate goes, but how we discover, okay, your 12 streams of income. How do you discover them? David had them all. If they just read what David had to go through, David had them all, and they all came at different times. Because at the beginning, he was out there with the sheep.
Right.
They didn't even want him to come in the house. You just stay out there with them stinking, dumb sheep. Stay out there, okay? And he had to, over time, discover. So that's what I was shown. That's what the Lord showed me, how inside of that's a discovery. And everything else brought David along, because he was a sheep shepherd, also a king. How do you be all that?
Right.
You got to discover it. There are gifts inside of you right now that are screaming to come out. And I tell folk all the time, I say, listen, if there's something that you feel that you can do and you're not doing it, it's inside of you saying, let me out. I want to get out of here. Let me go. And a lot of times we suppress it because we don't see how we can do it. We don't see how we can make it happen. We don't see how we can do it. Circumstances don't look right. The money doesn't look right. I'm too old. I'm too young. Whatever it is, it doesn't look right. But inside of you, it's screaming, I want to come out. So my goal is to help you recognize it and then develop it so that whatever that is, can begin to show itself. The mere fact that a person would ask, well, how did you do that? Possibly inside of them is that trying to scream, hollering, help me, get me out of here.
Because they're recognizing something in you that's you're doing, and they want to do the same thing.
Possibly,
Yeah.
possibly,
Okay.
possibly. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I am saying is the key for discovering is to listen to what you're saying to yourself, to listen to the conversations that's going on inside of you. Because those conversations, if we take them, it'll lead us in the way that we want to go. You ever heard somebody say, man, what I'm doing, I can't stand it.
Right.
I hate it. And I wish I was doing something else, but I'm good at it, but I just don't like it. Well, now let's take all of that and redirect those energies so that we can do them all.
I think the sad thing is that most people don't even have that conversation with themselves because they get so quickly caught up into the rat race part of life, and then they don't even have time to sit back and think like, all right, what is my passion? What am I really good at? You know, they don't have a chance to sit back and have that moment with God because they're too busy, you know, worrying about paying bills and what's on TV and who's playing what team, and you know what I mean. So there's a little disconnect there.
Sure.
You know,
some of that is the reason why I get up 3 in the morning.
right?
So that, you know, I have time. People say, how do you get up 3 in the morning and then do all those other things? Well, I mean, how do you watch television until you fall asleep?
Right.
I mean, how do you do what you do? I mean,
Good
you know,
point. Yep.
you just
Yeah.
put a priority on it and I do it. And I look forward to it. I don't have anybody bothering me. I don't have anybody talking with me. I can just spend my time and develop whatever is coming out of me. And between 3 and 6, oh man, it's a wonderful time. I'm telling you. Now about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, it's the time to go to sleep. I'm
Look,
ready
look,
to go
we
to sleep.
keeping them
So
up
how
past
am I
his
here
bedtime.
tonight? I don't know. You know?
Right.
Well, like I said, I had some coffee. I had a coffee and I had an energy bar, so I'm good right now.
That's a good point you made, though, because I don't think people understand how to value time with yourself to really think.
Sure.
That you spend that time, like you said, like it's just you, your thoughts, and putting things together.
Well, think about it. There's so many distractions in place now. Like these things.
It is true.
Like, there is never a moment where you. It's like you constantly need to be occupied with things. You know
I
what
do
mean?
it. I find myself sometimes. I know I have things to do, and I'm fishing through the perfect video to listen
we've all been
to,
there.
and I'm like wasting time.
Yeah, I see it, dude. I see it at the gym all the time. Like when I go to the gym, I usually go to the gym at 1 a.m. I'm a night person, so like you get up at 3. I'm usually going to bed at 3, 4 o'clock.
Wow.
So because I'm a night person.
Okay.
But so I get that vibe of like those hours where like no one can bother you
That's
and
right.
you can just get stuff done. But when I'm there, like I always see people that spend more time looking for music and videos than actually working out.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I'm in and out in 45 minutes because
Right.
I'm banging through a
Doing
workout.
what you do, right.
And you're there for 2 hours and only do a couple exercises. It's like not prioritizing your time, but it's because there's the distraction becomes more important than the actual work.
And then wonder why they're not losing weight.
Right, right.
Picture that.
Right.
One of the things that I found, and this is going to sound probably a little disjointed, most people don't think. I mean, literally, let's think about it. You get in your car, and I've seen them turn the radio up as loud as it. I mean, there's no way you need that radio, that music, that loud.
Right.
I mean, I hear it round the corner.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that that's done is so that they don't have to think.
That's true.
You know, thinking is probably one of the most laborious or hardest things to do, but the value that you receive as a result of thinking
Right.
is astronomical.
Yeah.
Most people just don't want to think. They would rather do something else.
Distraction.
Look at
Right.
anything, any
They want to be
distraction.
entertained.
Anything. Just
Yeah.
get on the phone, call somebody,
Yeah.
talk with. Just do anything other than
Sit and think.
think.
I think that's really a lost art. When you look at like some of the greatest minds in history, you would always see that common thread of like where they would just like their best ideas would come on long walks or like just they would have areas where they would just walk. I know they talk about that with Nikola Tesla all the time about how like when he would come up with these inventions, some of the stuff that we still use to this day that changed the world, it was like him just walking and just like letting ideas come to him. Like we're so caught up with distractions and needing our brain to be occupied at all times that we don't leave room for those ideas to come in, you know.
We don't leave room for discovery.
Right.
And so we're looking at what somebody else is doing and how they're doing it and want to do what they do.
Right.
And that may or may not be what was designed for you because everybody has it. There's not a person living that don't have 12 streams in them. It's there. Now, whether you're willing to develop them or not is key, but they exist.
Right.
And my goal is to try and show you how to let them and make them exist. Listen, I paid the price for this one. I paid the price. I got 20 plus years of paying a price for this. And you'll get it by reading the book as a verse to having to live the life. Would you rather live a life for 20 years going through and then get it or just read a book?
Right.
Just read a book, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
You still got to go through it,
Yeah,
well,
just-
but going
but you
through,
just got to focus
you go
on
through
what to go
differently.
through.
right.
Because you
And
go
you can
through
you can
now
go through it with a
with-
reference now.
Right, with
Right.
discovery.
Right.
Right. I'm going through this. It's painful, but what am I learning? What am I discovering
Right.
in this? Okay.
it's kind of like what the Bible's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be like, instead of just going through life aimlessly and wondering why all these things are happening to me, you have this thing, this word of God to reference, like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. You
Well,
know
that's
what
the
I mean?
answer.
So you get.
Well, that's why we meditate on the word.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
You're supposed to meditate.
Watch
Think
out,
on these
watch
things.
out there. Watch out. What sound like you want to preach?
No, but
Trust me, that's every week. That's every week. That's every week.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All of the answers are in there.
Yeah, that this whole podcast is centered around that. Young Lion TV. I don't know, the little bit of the song that's played in the beginning is a song that actually Jake wrote a while back, and it's based off of same thing. Like your book is based off of Discoveries from the Bible. That is based off of Ezekiel. That song is based off of Ezekiel, and that became like the centerpiece of the entire conversations that we have here.
Oh, wow.
Because it's about like the young lion being brought down in chains, being captured. You know what I mean?
Okay.
it's about creativity.
Yeah.
It's creatives. That's the thing that's been stolen, and brought into the marketplace. It's creativity. It's been quantized. So we got to be freed from those chains,
Right.
so to speak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's so you don't hear the roar of that lion because he's brought in chains by the marketplace, by what you think you have to do to survive in this world.
Like Babylon, the spirit of
Babylon.
Babylon.
Yeah. So, yeah, that song is kind of like speaking to those, because we're all creative. We're all artists,
Right.
so to speak, in different ways. How we do things, You you're
Woodwork.
Yeah, woodwork.
Yeah.
Do some artistry. I was looking at some of your stuff. It was really good.
Yeah. I
the house
surprised
you did.
myself on that one.
Oh, what?
wall,
Wait,
that
what?
wall.
What did I miss?
Oh, I did an accent wall, and I designed it.
Oh, okay.
And my dad kind of like let me.
He let you take the wheel on
Yeah,
that one?
yeah.
It's
Oh,
nice,
okay.
y'all.
Yeah.
So-
I got to check. Where, is this for the house you guys are working
Yeah,
on?
the house I
now?
was working on. So
Okay.
yeah, so it turned
Yeah.
out great.
Yeah.
But just to piggyback off of your book, I think prophetically, if I might say so,
Go ahead.
it has it. That's something that I think is changing. Not letting the marketplace dictate to you what you have to do, but the opposite way around. Because if we focus on God, think on these things lovely and pure. If we're thinking on Him, and if we're focusing on Him, He's going to raise us up to be creative, so that we dictate to the marketplace.
And the reason I believe that a lot of changes are taking place is because now, unlike 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people are actually reading.
Right.
Instead of listening to what somebody else told me that the Word says, that the Word of God says. We're actually reading the Bible and taking time to meditate on that Word and allowing, if I might say, the Holy Spirit, whose job it is, to make known of Him, to allow that to happen. And it's all coming because we're discovering that we can read and comprehend.
Right.
My grandparents, my grandfather, I think, went to 3rd grade, and my grandmother went to 5th grade. That was it. They had to go to work. They got married at 15, I think, or something. So they didn't have time to go to school. So they didn't have time to read. So they would have to listen
Right.
to what a preacher or whoever told them. And if they told them something that was their opinion, they couldn't question the opinion. I remember once I went to a seminar up somewhere in PA, and true story, John was in the front of the room talking about what the Bible says. So he says, okay, go to page in the book of so-and-so, this is what it says. So I don't know, man. I got to go to the page and read it. And I read it, and I said, well, Doc, that's not what it says here. He said, well, that's what they told me. I was done. I was done. There was nothing else he could have told me. No more.
Well,
I'm
who's
done,
they?
man.
Who's
You know,
they?
I'm
Yeah,
done.
they.
You didn't read this, and you
Right.
want to tell me what it says?
Yeah.
No, I'm done. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
I'm good. I'm ready to leave here now. Right? I had to pay to go there. Said I'm ready to leave. So that's one of the reasons why times are changing.
Yeah.
Because we really are a generation, and generation that's coming
Right.
that take time to read. You
Yeah.
know.
Not even only just read. Like, I can go on my phone and I can read a verse, and then I can go and look up the Hebrew.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Look up the Greek.
Right,
See
right.
what
Oh, yeah,
see what that one word
right
really
here.
means. You know what I
Where
mean?
the
Like it's
translation has
it's
been
major.
lost in a lot of ways.
in
yeah.
a couple minutes.
It's major.
You know?
It's major.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Access to
that is-
information.
Yeah.
That is where the study to show yourself approved comes from.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, and literally, you take that outside of the word. We have to study whatever we
Right.
do to show ourselves approved,
Right.
and show ourselves approved to who? To yourself.
Right.
Okay. Seed time and harvest, it says, will never end. So as long as we're planting seeds in us, because we are the ground, as long as we're planting seeds, something's going to grow. Something is going to grow, and what we want to grow are those things that will help us, that will help our families, and that help generations to come. Once we can achieve that goal, listen, we've made it. We've made it.
Yeah, I
I'm
think-
excited to be with you guys. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm probably a year or two older than most of y'all.
Just
You
not
know,
even.
it's exciting that we can at least speak the same language and you
Right.
can understand what
Definitely.
I'm saying. And I mean, with this phone is so smart. They call it a smartphone.
Yeah.
Why they give it to me? It's a smartphone, right? I had to ask. I said, "Can you help me get this thing working?" Right? But I'm excited with having it, you
Right.
know, and I'm learning more and more every day. But you know, I'm truly honored to be here for real.
Oh.
Well, we
know,
thank you for
I'm
coming.
honored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
I'm
you.
honored to be here. Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people they kind of fail is that like what you were saying about you know we plant something but then we might not water it,
Sure.
Yeah.
you know, and then we don't know when it's gonna come up out of the ground, you
Right.
know, so we get kind of discouraged and
Right.
fall back. We stop watering it,
Sure.
it, so it's not gonna grow, you know.
Right.
And then we
Or
just-
something will grow, but it may not be what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your book, Isaiah, book of Isaiah, 55, verse 6 through 12. What does it say? It says that just like the rain and the snow comes down to water the earth so that it will grow and bud, it says, so shall my word be. So if we want to water it and if we want it to grow, then according to the Bible, it says that we have to put word in
Right.
so that what's in us can grow. It says, just like the rain comes down and the snow to water the ground. Your book, 55, Isaiah 55, 6 through 12, that's exactly what it says. It says, so shall my word be. So we want to water it. We have an idea.
That's right.
And the word will water it for us and bring it forth. And you're looking up over there, right? That's what you're doing, 5512? Because they said you look things up. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were doing.
See, I took your word for it. I believe you.
That was good. I like her. That was good. That was good. But yeah. So as we begin on our process of life, it's important that we begin to understand and we grow in understanding that everything is discovery. If I can sow that into lives, then we no longer have a bad day. It's been a day.
Right.
Okay, because I discovered some stuff. I discovered that I shouldn't do that again. Okay, I discovered that I shouldn't go there again, or I discovered that these are some things that I really should do. And that's important. That's extremely important. The 12 streams, the way the 12 streams were developed, the Lord showed me, he said there's the north, the south, the east, and the west. And he reiterated it in the book of Revelations. It says, okay, there's 4 gates, and each of those gates has 3 streams. So I'm going to identify for you each of those streams and how they support you. So you say, Jack, well, are all those streams working right now? Well, some of them are income streams, and some of them are fulfillment streams. So if you're fulfilled in what you're doing, that's just as valuable as income, and sometimes it's more valuable.
Right.
So that's how it became 12 streams of income, and discover your 12 streams of income and fulfillment. And it becomes exciting. And now I know that you're going to have a passion to begin to look for. But what is it? What else can I do? I only have 3 streams. I have 4 streams. How am I going to get to 12? Well, read the book. I'm going to show you. That's pretty good.
Hey, that was good.
Hey.
Good. Okay.
That was good.
We're working on it.
It's funny how 12 comes. Like I mentioned this earlier, but it's such a relevant number. I know you've talked about 12 a bunch of times too, the significance of it. But when I think about like even in music, there's 12 keys. 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
We live on 12-hour cycles.
Okay.
And then 12 months in the year.
Oh, wow.
Well, it used to be 10 back in the day, but it's 12 now. But yeah, like you see 12 come up so much in different things. 12 disciples,
12 tribes of Israel.
12 tribes
yeah.
of Israel. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 is, from what I've seen, 12 is the kingdom governmental authority.
Like that's the number 12.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, if 10 and 2,
Right.
and it's 3,
Right. It breaks down to 3.
which has to do with when that comes into your life, you're raised up. You know,
Okay.
number 3 is about being raised up. It's about resurrection life. So,
Mm-hmm.
so 1 plus 2 is 3.
Right.
You know, and then 10 is God's hand in your life, and 2 is the house. So, we're the house, and His hand in our life and His house. He raises us up.
Right.
You know, what is He raising us up as? His temple, so that He can come in and dwell in, and then pour out of us
That's
His
good.
life.
That's good.
So there's a lot
Good,
with
yeah.
12.
Yeah. That's why
You
we
know.
see it so much.
In the book is broken down. You have 12 streams of income. You have 12 walls.
12 walls. I noticed that. Yeah.
And then there's 5 keys,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 7 steps.
Which
So 7 and 5
Right,
is
it's
12.
12
So,
too.
and it was ironic how all those things came together. And every time, like you said, the 12, every time I looked around, it was 12. Because there's 5 keys. I gave you the first one. The first key is trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first key. A lot of folk won't even do that.
Right.
They don't want to do it
Yeah.
because they haven't discovered that they really can trust themselves. And then you have the 7 steps. 7 steps. Once you get outside the door, once you come into the air, now there's 7 steps to get you down to those 12 streams of income. But we got to go through the walls first. And there's 12 walls. And a lot of times we look at those walls as being problems, but they're really building us because they're fortifying us and they're giving us foundation. So in the 12 walls comes your foundation, come your fortified. What does the Bible say now that we're out there? Y'all got me in the board now. It says that man was molded out of the ground. And then the Lord took a rib out of man and made woman. Okay? So what does that say? That says that the man is complete by himself because there's a rib missing. But once you find your rib, now you're fulfilled. And the majority of the time, we're not trying to find, this is not in the book, so y'all really got me way out in the river now. I mean, I'm way out there now.
That's what we do.
Yeah, I noticed, so I'm seeing it, right? But here's the thing. We're generally looking for a rib that stimulates us emotionally. But if we look at how God made it, we're supposed to be stimulated by what we're missing. So if I'm looking for what I'm missing, I'll find my rib. But if I'm looking because she has some characteristics
Right.
that keep me awake at night and have me working all day, that may not necessarily be your rib. And I used to tell the guys when I used to teach men's class, you got Butch's rib, and she trying to find Butch, and he trying to find her, and she pulling, you pulling. So everybody's pulling, going the wrong way, and you can't figure out why this thing is not working because you're not really looking for your rib.
Right.
You're looking for what stimulates you. And there's nothing wrong with stimulation. It's just the stimulation, sooner or later, it's going to run out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's
And
going
then
to run
and
out.
then you're looking for a new stimulation.
And that is where knowledge comes in so that you can discover early on what I'm looking for.
Right.
Okay, and that's key. That's key. That's key for all of us.
But I
It's key
think
for us today.
it's really important to be in the Word,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
be in a place to find that person that God has placed.
Your
it-
rib.
Yeah,
Your rib.
yeah, yeah.
Your rib.
Because you won't find that if you're on the dating apps, if you're too busy, addicted to porn all the time. You know what I mean? Like all of those things are set up as ways to reprogram your brain, rewire your brain into just turning dating into a it's just a
Another form.
choose based off of physical appearance and what gives you that dopamine rush when you look at them real quick, and then you select them, and then you get an interaction, and then it just turns into this physical thing, and then it's like this is what relationships have become now.
Sure.
So-
Or you can go the other end where it's like, well, they don't fit all the criteria that I think it should be. Too.
Right.
You can have one way or the other.
Yeah. What was the thing you sent me? We were just talking about something about that, and you don't remember? He was like, I don't want to talk about it. No, it was something you sent me, and it was something about someone trying to find the person. Oh, it was the thing in Philly with the polyamorous relationships. Yeah. And it was like people trying to find people are in these polyamorous relationships where it's like they're group dating now because they're saying I can't find everything in Rachel don't put herself out there. I feel you. She was like, I know these people. It was based in Philly. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's the concept of like now. Yeah. People in the dating world, and these are people like in their 30s, you know what I mean, or 20s and 30s. It's like these aren't kids, these are people that are like have been through life and been through relationships and now have decided that the best route is to be in these group dating scenarios because why you can't find everything in one person, everything you want in one person. So why not have multiple people where you can fulfill every little thing that you need? You know what I mean? This whole concept of
they tried it in the 60s. How did it work?
How did that work, right?
and the secret behind that is, if you think about it, they're still trying to discover something.
Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to discover it.
Right.
And unfortunately, the vehicle that they're using they'll never discover it.
Right.
Because they'll never really have peace, because it will always be something inside hollering, saying that I want that one someone. Everybody wants one someone.
Mm-hmm.
They want one, and the hard part is a lot of times people don't realize if they just sit back and listen, they can be led to where they truly need to be and where they truly need to go. Look here, I was led in here with you guys, and ladies, and I'm pumped. I mean, I'm pumped. And it's really given me a new energy to want to drive even harder.
That's good.
Even harder. So I'll get home at midnight, and I'll still get up at 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Because my body's set for it. Why? So that I can spend time.
Right.
But what you're doing and what is good, the good thing about having you on here too is because like a lot of our audience that's younger that is looking for inspiration in how to be successful the right way, not chasing all the wrong things. And it's like nowadays everyone is shown the image of the athlete or the rock star as the image of what success is. And it's like everyone's chasing fame now. Everyone's chasing some type of clout, whether it's how many followers you have, how many Instagram likes do I have on this picture. And so for you to have laid it all out and have this book where you can kind of give people a different blueprint on how to find what's really important in finding your streams of success.
Right.
That's important. And people need to see that. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like all of these, like the Revolt Summit thing, we're like, why don't they have any business people on the panel? They have all artists and rappers on there telling people how to be successful and that you need to vote this way or that way. And it's like, why are we listening to celebrities all the time?
Because that's the culture.
Right. Yeah. But we need to change that.
Well,
And it's being changed right now.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Being changed right now.
that's the thing. It's the culture can only change from the ones who are in that culture, the kingdom culture. You know what I
Right.
mean? And you can't try to be in this culture and then try to say like Christians, you can't try to be in something in a culture that isn't for you. You know what I mean? And then try to conform to that. You can be in anything, but you gotta bring in the culture of the kingdom of God. And that's a totally different thing.
And it takes time. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it happens over years. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother, she used to And I mean, I was in the world. So by the time I got home young, in 9th grade, 10th grade, I was doing things that most people don't do until they 25 and 30.
Right.
And, you know, Saturday mornings when I need to sleep in because I was out late, she'd come and whisper in my ear, Jackie, you know, God loves you. I'm like, yo, Mom, right now, can he love me later? 'Cause I'm trying to get some sleep here. But that culture was being manifest.
Right.
And I don't know if we do that today.
Right. And she was planting those seeds that you talked
Planting
about.
the seeds. And then she'd whip the mess out of me. I wanted to say the hell out of me, but I don't use those words. But she would whip the mess out of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And literally today, if you look at a child wrong, you're in trouble.
Right.
But when my kids were growing up, I told them, I said, call them now, because if you get out of line, it's gonna happen. So call whoever you need to call, put them on notice.
Right.
It's coming.
Well, him and I always talk about this. I feel like part of the problem is we don't have in this society we don't have a time where we're ushering boys and girls into adolescence, into manhood and womanhood.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is because I was doing a job in Howell about like 5-6 years ago, and I met this Hasidic Jew, and we were talking. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, how come you're not married?" At that time, I was 31. I don't know. And he said, "Are you Christian?" I said, "Yeah." And he started telling me. He said, "They're groomed. They're groomed to. That's their end goal, and they know it immediately.
Right.
There's no if, ands, or but. They're pretty much. They know that within this group. Now, to someone at that time, that seems so morbid. Jeez, you have no choice. You have no nothing. And I think we're fooled by the illusion of choice because like I want to have all these choices, and then you're
Prince
45 and you still haven't chosen.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
It really starts, you know, the adolescence, if you will,
Right.
starts at around age 2
Right.
till around age 7 to 9.
Right.
And those are the years that the majority of training goes in. By the time a kid gets 12, 13, 14, 15, it's too late.
The personality is already developed.
It's already
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You
The
know?
influences are already
It's
there.
just there. It's
Yeah, I
embedded.
think it's like by 3 years old, you're
Right.
set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what you're saying is true because I moved to the United States when I was 14, and in where I come from is in Trinidad. I'm from Trinidad.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I grew up in a little village, and when I got here, Timberlands, earring in the air, tattoos, cornrows, none of that
Hip-hop culture, period.
didn't
Yeah.
mean anything to me
Right.
because my personality had already been developed.
Sure.
And I didn't feel the need to fit in because I had already liked what I liked. My personality was already there. And I think, I was already being ushered into manhood from that culture.
Sure.
And I think that's what I was saying to you, maybe we were talking about this, is that we don't have something where we're ushering boys and girls
Yeah.
into manhood and womanhood. And we're teaching them that, look, you have to leave these things
We
behind
don't.
because you're stepping into a new season.
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We talk about also like because people set up these social constructs of like what an adult is or what a, you know what I mean?
Right.
And in other cultures, it's like people will get married off at 16, 17,
Right. Which is fairly normal around the world.
That's what I'm saying because but the way they live their lives is totally different than us. So by the time the child is, especially like little girls, by the time they're old enough, they're learning how to take care of the kids. They're learning how to
Right.
to be a mother, to
Right,
be a
right.
wife, to
And that's a form of education to them.
right. They're
Right.
being groomed into how to be an adult woman a lot younger. So. And like now, you meet a 25-year-old boy or girl, and they're not even barely an adult anymore,
Right.
in this culture because everyone is so like coddled,
Right.
But in other cultures, that person already has a
Right.
whole family, you know what I
Right.
mean, and working on grandkids.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to not only understand it, but do what you guys are doing and take an audience and begin to change the culture.
Right.
Right.
Because we really can. It just takes some folk like you guys to really be dedicated and focused on changing some
Right.
things.
Right.
And I mean, again, I applaud you. I applaud for what you're doing. I applaud your ideas. I applaud
Thank
your
you.
energy. And I'm just happy to be a part of it and look forward
Right.
to learning from you. Learning from you.
Well, likewise, I can't wait to really dive into your book and like get some new motivation,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But
I'm interested.
we always say that like even if you feel like it's too big for you to change the whole culture, to change the idea of the world, start with your family. Start with
100%.
your
Yeah,
household
yeah,
and
yeah.
and build out from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're all married, we all have kids, and we
Right.
always talk about how like if I can get my household in order,
Sure.
And then he's my brother, and now our families are connected, and now ours are connected, and this is my brother-in-law. I'm married to his sister.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
we know that we're building a community that now is only going to be tighter and expand on the same ideas, the same ideologies, the same values that can't be penetrated from all the outside influences.
Right.
So we're creating our own culture,
Right.
and then we can grow that from there, and that's all we can really control.
Right. And to touch on what you said, that one first key that you gave us, which is trust yourself. When I finished trade school, and I went into, my dad discouraged me from going into woodworking. Because he was like, you don't want this. And now it's totally different.
Yeah.
Now the trades are in demand.
Yeah.
They can't find guys. And I'm in demand.
Yeah.
But remember the first job I went on, I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know if I could do I did it, but I didn't feel confident.
Sure.
And I didn't trust. And I called him. And he came to help me. And he let me do it. And I was panicking the entire time. Because I'm like, if I screw this up, this is it. But now I sit back and I'm totally confident because I learned to trust myself and trust myself. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And now he's not even involved in any other estimating. I design it, I make it, I put it in, and sometimes I surprise myself because I've learned to trust myself, and I didn't. I was like, oh my god, this is scary, man. Because customers are standing there. You're in their home.
Right.
They're gonna see they're gonna figure out quickly if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Right.
So
And what you're saying, that's a conversation that you're having with yourself.
Right.
Nobody else is in that conversation.
Right.
And just think, if you stayed with the idea of I can't trust myself.
Right.
Just think if at no time did you break that barrier.
Right.
Just think where you'd be at today.
That's
You'd
right.
Be
That's
somewhere
right.
going
You said
mad.
that and it hit me. I was like, man, that's true because I was so scared. I
We
sat
all
outside
go
this
through
guy's
that.
house for like an hour. Like, oh my god, should I just cancel this thing?
We all go through that, man. Especially those initial things.
Right,
Like,
right.
Remember we talk about the first time we had to go sell that first CD to somebody.
Yeah.
And that fear hit you. It's like, or I remember the first time Dave sent me to go do sound for Freddie, and it was like, yo, can I do this? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But you have to just trust yourself.
That's true.
I want to say what's up to a couple people in the chat. John is watching. He said hi to everybody. My little brother's watching.
What's up, John?
What up, John?
Tiffany
John?
Tiffany said hi to everybody. Paul, Luz Junior was watching. I guess he's not too mad at us from last week.
He's back.
Ariana said, "Hey guys." But yeah, back to what we were talking about. So I wanted to talk about the real estate thing. I'm very interested in. Do you have insight on what happened to the market when it went through that big crash?
Sure. It was greed.
Okay.
And even today, I believe it's still greed. The reason, and statistics proves this,
Right.
the reason why the bubble took place was because there were people that were unable to pay the mortgages that they were given those mortgages on what's known as an adjustable rate. That's really what broke the back of the market. So in other words, I give you a rate today that says 6%.
Mm-hmm.
So the monthly payment that you're paying, you qualify for that. You can make that payment comfortably today.
Right.
Right.
2 years from now, it's going to jump.
Right.
And it's probably going to go from 6 to maybe 9 or 10. Now, at 9 or 10, you have interest rate, you have a problem. So you just went from $1,200 to $2,100 per month. That's what broke the back
Right.
of the economy. It broke the back because now we have a bunch of people that now cannot afford the home that they're living in.
Right.
So now, when some of those people lose those properties and they lose them, they didn't sell it, they lost it. When a property is sold, it creates a market. And the market dictates itself every 6 months. So whatever sold in the prior 6 months is what the homes are worth now. So as they're losing them and as they're foreclosing, you had a house that was worth $400,000. Well, the one down the street and one around the corner within a mile radius of your property just went for $250. Guess what your property is worth now?
Wow.
It just fell to $250, and it keeps falling. So now you still have to pay based on whatever you bought it at. But now it's not worth what it was worth.
Right.
So people was just walking away. They was walking away. Some couldn't stand. stand where they were,
Right.
and they just went and did something else. So now the federal government, if you will, took those properties back. So now they have those properties, and now they go for foreclosure sale or sheriff's sale, the sheriff's sale. So now they're purchased now for 50 cents on a dollar, 40 cents on a dollar. Guess what just happened to the value? It went back down. Or if they didn't sell them, I don't know how true this is. I've heard it. I'm not saying it's true. But the government held a lot of properties. They just held them. They just didn't sell them. They had them. It was a bunch of properties out there. And then they started letting them go. Now, they were making money on the real estate that was being sold. They were making money on the real estate that was being sold.
So a lot of these banks got bailed out and then still held the properties
There
and
was
made
some
money on.
people, and if you can study what happened, I mean, it's no secret. If you study what happened with the bailout, there were people that made billions of dollars. Wow. And the money they made, and one gentleman, I'll leave his name out, well, two of them actually, they asked him, well, how do you feel about making that money and people losing their house as a result? He said, I feel fine.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Here you are
Right.
being stripped of all that you have, and somebody is taking advantage of it because it was established,
Right.
and they feel fine. How do you feel? And see, homeless, people take homeless really to say, okay, you're living on the street. No, that's not necessarily
That's
homeless.
not necessarily it, yeah.
You know, if you live with somebody else,
Right,
you're still homeless.
right.
You know, and that's a feeling,
Yeah.
and that's an understanding, and that one, it can be dangerous.
Right.
You know, to the person, to their development, and if they don't have strength, you know, a lot of things can happen. You have folk that was jumping off Empire State Buildings. You have people that were shooting themselves because what they trusted in was gone.
Right.
Right.
And what was it? Their comfort of the money that they had saved. And most people, they have their money in their real estate. So they've been paying it, and the equity that's in their house is their money. Well, now it's gone. It's gone. I mean, literally. And you can look at the market. And it's starting to come back now, but it's coming back nowhere near as fast as it went down.
Right.
Right.
It's coming back a little bit at a time. And it only can change 6 months. 6 months is what changes a marketplace. So now you just lost $200,000 in your house, and it's creeping up $3,000, $4,000 a year. How long do you think it's going to take you to get back to where it was when you purchased it? That's what broke the camel's back.
Right,
Wow.
right. Now that term that you used, was it adjustable interest rate? Okay. Now was that in the documents? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so people just
Yeah,
didn't go
but
any further to
But I
understand.
mean,
Listen,
they
listen.
probably
Let
weren't.
me help you with this. You know, in school, when they said take it to the lowest common denominator,
Right.
that's what most people, they said, forget all that. How much is my monthly payment?
Oh,
And
wow.
my payment is $1,000. I can do it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Now, the rest that give in 2 years is going up to $2,000. They don't hear
Then,
that.
yeah, okay.
That's what
And it
Verizon
wasn't
did to me on
said
my
that
cable
way.
bill.
Right,
I
right,
know
right.
that's right. Yeah.
So people just got tricked by whatever that monthly payment. They were just looking at that.
That's
Right.
what it was looking at. And it's not trick because it's
That's
in
what
black
people
and white.
care about.
Okay.
It's there,
Right.
The
but
right
they
now.
just said, I can
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
that, and this is what I pay. Let's go.
Okay.
And when it changed, that was not what they were looking at.
Right.
you
Now,
know?
what was the deal with these like subprime mortgages? People were getting approved like for mortgages that they really couldn't afford because they were using some like weird scam.
Well, we had, back in the day, they had what was known as a no income, no asset verification.
Okay.
So what does that mean? That means I'm going to get a house, and I'm going to tell them that I work for you, literally, and they're going to call you, and you're my uncle, you're my brother, you're my friend, and you're going to say, yes, he works here, she works here, yes, that's what they make. Hang up. Literally,
Wow.
that was the process.
That's it.
That was it. It was no. It's called the no doc, no income, no asset verification. I don't have to
Wow.
verify nothing.
When was that introduced? When that?
Oh, I don't know the year that it came in.
Right.
And some of it's coming back now, but it's coming back with some barriers. I
Right,
mean,
right,
you
right.
know,
But not as free as it
oh,
was.
no, not
right,
as
right,
free as
right,
it
right.
was. Not for residential, you know, and not for the individual. Now, there's still breaks for, you know, a business, corporation. If you have a corporation, you have an LLC, but there's still some breaks there that, you know, you can begin to develop and get yourself back in place. But
Right.
yeah, those no income, no assets, you know, no docs we call them, they really broke the camel's back.
That's crazy.
So
Wow.
again, comes from discovery. Everything is discover, man. So now that you know this and you've discovered this, you won't walk into that again. At least you shouldn't walk into that again.
Right.
Because you've been what? You've been forewarned. And according to the word, if I'm forewarned, then I'm supposed to be what? Forearmed.
Right.
So because I understand now, I don't have to fall down on that. That won't get me. But yeah, it was. And like I said today, we had people that had $500,000 homes, $1 million homes. Okay, and I see them every day. $1 million homes. Right now, they're trying to sell them for $400,000.
Wow.
And now the reason you may say, well, man, that's a great deal because let's buy it. Well, slow down, because on that $1 million home, the taxes. I had one that was in Voorhees. They were trying to sell it for $600,000. The people purchased it for like 1.8. Well, the taxes are $72,000 a year. The real estate taxes. Wow. So now you can buy it for $700,000, but you still have taxes based on $2 million. The taxes it doesn't add up.
It isn't
But-
adjusted.
and
Doesn't add up.
You can apply for a readjustment, but
You
not,
can't do that until after you own the property.
Right. Right.
So you can't go to try and get.
So at first you're paying $72,000.
You're paying $72,000, and if we say it's not worth less, guess what? You still gonna pay
Right.
$72,000 in those
Not
taxes.
7,200,
Or whatever the number is,
72,000.
whatever.
Right.
But there's one in particular. It was $72,000 a year.
Your cousin's dealing with that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
are they trying to sell their property? They live in Voorhees.
Yeah, they're trying to. But same thing, like he said, I think like 3 or 4 properties have foreclosed in his neighborhood.
You can't. The appraiser can't overlook it.
Right.
Right.
Can't. If it's 6 months, and it's within, it's called the fair market value. So what does that mean? That means fair. What has sold fair in this market, a 1 mile radius, fair market value, the value of that. So inside this 1 mile radius of the subject property of like kind, okay, 3 bedrooms, ranch, of like kind, what has it sold for? I can't go back 2 years. Because 2 years, it might have been really going well. No, he can go, the appraiser, he or she can go 6 months.
Wow.
That dictates a market.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that window has always been there, or that's like.
Oh no, the fair market value has been there since real estate has been there. So that's why some people, when they saw it coming, they might have got out. Let me
Right.
sell this now while the market is high.
Right.
And it's literally supply and demand.
Right.
That's what the marketplace is based on, the supply and demand. If it's a short supply, demand are great, the value goes up.
Right.
If it's a low supply, a low value or low amount and not a lot of properties and only a few buyers, well, it changes. Supply, demand.
Right.
And once you read the marketplace, once you understand the marketplace, now there's some things that really can happen for you. And all of those things, again, it just comes back to the same thing, discover. So right now, you're getting education, I'm getting education. Okay? So now we can make some what? Better decisions. Okay? And that's literally, you can make some better decisions. Yeah. And I just gave you
A lot of good
That
information.
is some
Yeah,
good
yeah.
information.
Thank you.
one of
Yeah.
our first walls. Yeah.
I was when I like started seeing what they were doing with that stuff, it blew my mind. Like
Right.
the level of like just corruption that happens in
Right.
the banking and the
Oh, man,
mortgages.
it's-
Like
Right.
the
Well,
way
can
they
we-
were betting against. Like
major.
weren't they betting? Like they gave away all of these mortgages
Right.
that they knew people couldn't afford, and they were betting against them
Right.
to make money off of when they crashed.
Right.
Right. Like,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
that what was going on? It was something like that, like in the
Well,
stock market.
it appears that it was.
Right.
I wasn't in the room.
Okay.
But based on the facts, it looks like that's what was taking place.
And then
Right.
they got bailed out anyway.
They got bailed out. So
Right.
and now they're bailing out themselves again.
Wow.
Because now a lot of those properties that were in escrow, they're actually letting them go. And one of the things that they're doing, that I noticed they're doing, because investors, folk that are going out and buying the properties, rehabbing them, selling them, they're actually rehabbing some of their own properties. So here are properties that was foreclosed, they hold it in their nest. Now they're saying, okay, we don't want to leave, they call it any money on the table. So now they're saying, okay, let's go rehab it ourselves. Let's do a quick paint and sparkle up a little bit and get a higher value than what we actually. I mean, it's amazing what's happening. So now we have to work twice as hard to find a deal.
Right.
To find a deal, we got to work twice as hard.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why do you think I feel like we're not educated as young people, high school, college, on really purchasing things like that, like a home, like understanding So people are just so emotional, like you said. Like you're looking for that monthly payment that says $1,200. So you want to, you can't afford a $500,000 home, but you just, you know what I mean? Why do people fall for that?
Lack of knowledge.
Where do we go wrong? Like
Well-
like what he was saying in the schooling system, we're not being taught.
Right.
I think there's no curriculum for teaching people about money.
No, it's,
You know.
and this was one of the problems I had in school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, I graduated. I went to school. You know, I did what I had to do. When the teacher called for the guy to read, I would slide far down the chair so she couldn't see me, and that was my mindset. Because I didn't want to learn about English.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't care about American history. Was it trigonometry?
Yeah.
I really did. I mean, I didn't care about that because I couldn't see how that was going to turn into money.
Right.
I couldn't figure it out. But on my block and in my neighborhood, the guys that were getting money was doing some of the things that I started doing.
Right.
And I mean, at one time I was making as much as the teacher was making. So the teacher's making this. I'm treating the teacher, okay, because they weren't teaching us about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They was teaching us how to, watch this, go get a good job,
Right.
work all your life,
Right.
Right.
die before you get your pension, and then let's do that cycle all over again. That's
Right.
my philosophy.
Build someone else's corporation.
Absolutely.
Right.
Just be a part of the machine. We talk about that all the time. Like
Corporations are something that, listen, the majority of us, if you will, younger people, and now it's starting to change a little bit. You notice I said us, right?
yeah,
You
that
notice
is yeah.
we don't know a thing about corporations.
Right.
No,
Or how they work.
Don't have a
we
thing.
don't.
Right,
we
right,
don't-
right.
Yeah, we
Don't
not
have to know
taught
a
that.
thing, right? There's a book that was
Court.
introduced to me
No,
probably
no,
10 years ago. And the name of the book is paramount. It's called Inc. and Grow Rich. Incorporate and Grow Rich. Once we read, and I read it, this is probably my third read, and I didn't get it the first time, okay? Once you begin to read what you can do with a corporation, we've been taught that we don't get a corporation because it's double taxation. You tax me here and tax me there. Well, once you begin to study it, you'll find out that yes, there's a double taxation, but the company, as long as it's in the notes, in your minutes, the company can pay for everything that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need money. I don't. You give me a small salary because the company's doing everything for me.
Right.
Corporation does it all. It can pay your college. It can pay your health. It can pay for your vehicle. It can pay for the gas. It can pay for your food. It can take you on a trip. It can do all those things. And watch this. Everything that the corporation does for you is a write-off.
Mm-hmm.
You can't write yours off
Right.
personally until after. Corporation writes it off up front.
Right.
Writes it off. Everything. It's a write-off, man.
Right.
So you're making $200 a month and living in a house that the corporation is paying for. Driving a car that is giving you a car allowance for.
Mm-hmm.
Gas that it's giving you the ability to pay for the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Eating food that it's allowing you to eat. Now, of course, I'm not an accountant, so you're an accountant, and you want to get a CPA, one that understands corporation. If we talk to 3 CPAs, 2 of them will probably say, I don't think that's a good idea. Well, those are the ones that really don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's just my humble opinion. But I would say read the book. That book is a good one, and it's a bunch of them that you
What was the
can
name of the book again?
read. It's Inc. INC, Incorporate and Grow Rich. Inc. and Grow Rich.
Inc. and
Awesome.
Grow Rich.
Inc. and Grow Rich.
And corporations exist as their own entity too,
That's
right?
right.
Like so you can't you're basically shielded by the corporation that you're under from any like lawsuits or things like that. The corporate
You can be an employee of the corporation.
right,
So the corporation is the entity,
right,
and the corporation has the EIN number. So the EIN number is the number, not your Social Security number, your EIN number.
right.
And, listen, our president, he shut down, and maybe my numbers are wrong, 13 corporations went bankrupt. And he's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And not only that, I don't think his credit got injured at all. A lot of people got injured from my reading.
Right,
Let's make that clear. I don't want people saying, Jackson, no, from my reading.
right.
And you can read it yourself and find it. So if it's good enough for him, and he can do all that he does, and all of them have him. So why wouldn't
Right.
it be good enough for us?
Right, right,
And you know why it's not? Because we haven't discovered. Because we won't read.
You're right.
We
right.
just won't read.
But also, I also put it at the faults of like, again, like the schooling that we go through, we're never taught those basic, foundational things that we need to. We don't know what money is. Like I didn't learn about, fiat currency. I didn't learn about like that our money's not even backed by gold until I was well into my 20s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the concept of what is money and where does it come
Right.
from.
How does it
and
work?
How does it
and-
work? And like
We
you know,
used to be a strong country
hmm
backed by our real estate.
right,
So our real estate is what we had. Everybody had what they had. We had real estate. But do you know now?
Around
we
what
don't
time? What
own
year
our
was
real
that?
estate.
What year?
I'm going back in 1800s.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, when we were strong,
Right.
our
Right.
real estate was strong.
Right.
Now, foreign countries own the majority of real estate in the U.S.
Right.
We
Foreigners.
talk
Right.
about,
We talk about that all the time.
China,
Yeah.
yeah,
Buying
man.
stuff.
We can't fight China.
right.
China own us.
Well, you see what's happening with the NBA. We talked about that
Oh
on here
yeah,
too.
man. Yeah, they had to go over there to try to make peace.
Right.
They had to go there, and not because they wanted to.
Yeah.
They were owned by him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's what's real.
Mhm.
Right.
And once we look at what's real, we can begin to discover some things. So now watch this. With that level of information, with that kind of knowledge now, what is it, what are you prepared to do for yourself, for your family, and for their future?
Right.
What are we prepared to do? And that's where the rubber really meets the road. And if we're just going to talk about it and not be about it, well, then there it is.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about it and do something about it and be about it, then we can really make change. And
Right.
it don't have to take a whole lot of people to make change. One person can make a change. And if I see you make a change, then I'm going to be in line to make some changes. And before you know it, we have a movement. We have an opportunity. We have some goals. We have some things really taking place. Yeah.
Right.
I love it. I
Good
like
stuff.
that.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else got any questions, man? It's been a good one.
Oh,
Well, I don't know how close we are to the end, but I would just like to once again, say thank you, for the audience, for
Yeah,
the opportunity,
absolutely.
and just to share, man, share and
Right.
learn.
we learned a lot.
Yeah, we learned
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, yeah.
And we believe this is important.
I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You've been in this for 30 years. What do you think we need to do to teach young people or push them, like you said, to get away from just getting education, getting the job, and to really being entrepreneurs? Like be self-starters. Like what do you think needs to happen?
You just have to teach them to be entrepreneurs. First, we have to learn what to teach.
Okay.
And for me, I had to get out of my own way. I remember the first book I read from cover to cover. I remember now. You may say, "Jack, I don't understand that." Listen, in school, coming through school,
Right.
you skimmed the book. You skimmed it. You read what you needed to read to answer the test and remember.
Right,
You went
right,
on memory. Right.
right.
I remember this answer. I remember this answer.
Right.
But we never read the book
For
Right.
information.
for information
Right, right,
and
right.
to take time for that information to transfer from the book into you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Why?
remember the first book I read from cover to cover. And
Hold
it
on,
was
but why
about-
didn't you do it?
Why didn't I do it before?
Yeah.
Because I had no motivation.
Right, because you didn't care.
It was about getting money. It
Right,
wasn't about
right.
information.
Right.
And it wasn't about discovering anything. It was
Right.
just about getting through it. I just got through it. I'm through it. I'm
Store
through
it,
it. Done.
store it,
So,
use it, and throw it away.
Yeah.
Done, man. I'm past that. Let's move on.
Okay.
Wherein now you begin to understand the value. When I realized that I could read a person's book and have the knowledge that they had without paying the price that they paid.
Right, right,
Oh
right.
man, I was like, yo, bring them on.
Right.
Yeah.
Bring them on. And I started reading everything I could read.
What was that first book that you read that?
It was, and I looked at it the other day, right? It was Miles Monroe. It was the first book I ever really read, cover to cover. Miles Monroe, and it was Positive Thinking, I think, or I remember the name. I can't get it right now. I'm looking at it. I actually see it, but it was by Miles Monroe.
Okay.
First book ever. And from
And
then,
you wanted to that. What made you want to get
I
that?
wanted to prove to myself that I could actually read a whole book.
Okay.
You know how you read
Right.
a book about 30
Right, right.
pages and then you
Yeah.
fold up, you just don't look at that one
Right.
again. Read another book, you're about 100 pages in, fold up, all right, I'm done with that one.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to read it from cover to cover.
Right.
And when I said, wow, I read the book.
So that began
And
your
now
journey
every
to trusting
morning-
yourself to do it.
That's right.
Right.
Every morning now,
Right.
after I have my time, I have, scriptures that I'm going to read, what I'm going to study, and then I have a book. Right now I'm reading the second read, Ink and Grow Rich, and I'm also reading The Laws of Success, which is a pretty thick book. So if you haven't been through it, it can be intimidating to a person just because of the size. But I want to get what's in it.
Right.
The Laws of Success. Oh man, it's by Napoleon Hill,
Right.
who's the same one that wrote the book. The one everybody knows. Think and Grow Rich. There's some secrets right there in the word. Think
Right.
and grow rich.
Right.
What we don't want to do.
Right.
Think.
Right.
Right.
No
Say,
one wants to think anymore.
Yeah, you don't
right.
want to think. No, don't think. Just do. Just ride around. Just listen.
Right.
No, think.
Right.
And grow rich.
So your advice for young parents? We're all young parents.
Sure.
How do we prepare our children? We know they're all kids right now, but how do we prepare them? That we know they're going to go to school, they have to do these mundane, routine. We know they're not going to really get any. This is information, like you said. They're putting it in. They got to take a test and throw it away.
People in college are going. They're learning now.
Right,
People
but that's
in college
they're
come
setting
out-
them up from that young age, right?
Right.
What's your advice for young parents like us?
First thing, and interesting you asked me that question. First thing I would say is study your child. Because if you study your child, you are, in most cases, going to see in that child what the child doesn't see in his or herself.
Right.
So now you, by being parents that's mindful, can begin to help them along the way.
Right. Cultivating those things.
Cultivating
Right.
cultivating their assets.
Watering those seeds.
That's right.
That's a very important, right? I like that.
But and a lot of times we just let them grow.
Right,
Or go
right.
eat, go play, go. No,
Yeah,
no.
right.
Start looking at what they do. Each of my kids, when they were coming up, I knew which ones thought. My oldest daughter thinks. She's a thinker. She's in the real estate business. My next daughter, she's mechanical. She would, when she was young, she had went to the store, right? Bought all these little beads that they put around there, got some string, had a cardboard box, and that saran wrap. She was making wrist things for them. Though you know how wear that thing on their wrist with their names on it. She would make them for people, cut out the cardboard box, put it on there, tape it down, and cover it saran wrap and selling it.
Wow.
I said,
Right.
whoa, this girl's mechanical.
Right. Right.
Okay. My next daughter, she's more spiritual, but she really is a hard worker. So we're directing her, and she's getting it into using her mind to teach other people. She likes to teach folk how to do things.
Right.
My son, when he was a little video thing, he just took to a basketball. He would just I call him now Showtime. I mean, this kid with a basketball, it's like don't blink.
Right.
He's in college now, senior year, and I pushed him towards that and business. I mean, sometimes I sit down with him, it's like, whoa, wait, let me get together, because some of the things he says really get me thinking. So I'm pushing him towards business, and he's taking it. He's doing his master's right now, and he'll be out. This is his last year. And the last one, Shauna, what she does is she's just feely touchy. So she works in the hospital. She works. So when you begin to look at them, if you're really looking at where their strengths are,
Right.
what does and I'm done. What does the Chinese say about strength and weaknesses?
I don't know.
Watch this. It says if you take a person's strength and take it straight through the roof, you don't have to worry about their weaknesses. But what do? Try to balance the strength and the weaknesses. They say no. Make their strength so strong that their weaknesses won't even matter.
So just keep building on them strengths.
Build on the
Right.
strength.
Right.
So I try to find the strengths. And
Right.
even in my agents. And agent will come in after a conversation. I can pretty much, I have a feel for those that will develop and do it and those that will just, I'm doing this for fun. I
Right.
just want to, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Their reason is their reason. But there's some that you can look at and work with and want to pour into,
Right.
because you really can see how they have the ability, and that's a desire. That's a discovery.
Right.
And the first discovery, because you asked it, that means that it exists in you.
Right.
Because the mere fact that it came up, it's in you. So all you have to do now is allow it to manifest itself.
Right.
And it will, because it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. Good question.
Awesome.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's a good episode, man. I'm glad we had you here.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for
Yeah,
doing
thank
it.
you so much,
We
man.
took
No,
away
I'm
some gems from that.
Excited.
A lot of
Excited.
information.
Hopefully, a lot of people get to check out your book. When is the book supposed to drop?
First of the year.
First of the year.
And I hopefully I can come back, or you have the book
Oh,
here.
we'll
and
definitely.
you
Yeah,
guys
absolutely.
Yeah.
Put it out there, and,
Yeah.
and maybe 2 or
Definitely.
3
We'll put
people
some
will buy
links
it and
up
get
about- yeah.
Right.
some ads. I asked, I said, well, in the morning, I'm asking the Lord some questions. He said, well, how many do you want to sell? So, they say you're always supposed to pick a number that's bigger than you can see. So I said, how's 10 million? If I sell 10 million, I'll be happy, right? He said, well, how would you like 100 million? I said, oh, Lord. Right? So I'm believing for that.
Right.
I'm believing for it. I really believe that this book will change lives.
From what I saw,
believe it'll
from
change
what I saw,
lives.
it
Believe
could
it'll
change
change lives.
lives. It could
Right.
change lives
I believe
it. Right.
if people really take the time, like you said, to stop, think,
Right.
Right.
read,
Right.
ingest. Like
Right.
I think that's the moral of this episode.
Right.
is to
And
think.
keeping and creating generational freedom.
Yeah,
Sure.
generational freedom, generational wealth.
Yeah.
Building communities based off of, morals and values and God and family and
Right.
yeah.
I think that, and I'm done. I think that if we,
Look, we can
I'm sorry.
look however long you need to be
If-
here.
if
We're
we
good.
can learn how not to be self-centered
Right.
Right.
and to become conscious
We talk about that all the
of
time.
helping folk around us.
Right. Right.
Because the Bible says in the book of Matthew that in order for me to be great, I have to become a servant.
Right. Right.
And great, now most of us, we want to be great, want to be served, want to sit at the head of
Right.
the table. He says, no,
Right.
serve.
Right.
He who serves
Right.
is great. And he said,
That's
he'll
the
bless us
ox.
beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you said that. I just found out something about Chick-fil-A. I was always thinking, why is Chick-fil-A so good? You know what happens when you buy a franchise? The company, the owner of the company said, I don't care how rich you have, how much money you have, or how poor you are. If you buy a franchise, you have to work in the restaurant.
You have to work there.
You have to. And because you're going to serve, you're going to be at the window,
Right.
you're going to mop the floors.
Right.
If you don't do that, you cannot own that franchise.
And if you don't abide by all of their strict, customer
Close on
service
Sundays.
policies,
Yep.
closed on Sundays, they will take that franchise from you in a heartbeat. No-
Right.
Even if it's the most successful
Yeah,
one,
I was
they
like,
don't
wow,
care.
man.
There's
Yeah.
something that because he just said the book of Matthew, and it made me think about this because a revelation that I got. Everybody, well, some of you might know about the 4 faces, and the angels. You got the ox, you got the man, you got the lion, and then the eagle. So Matthew is the ox. Like every gospel is a different perspective of who God is. That's why you see it in a different way.
Right.
When he was just talking about Matthew, it's the ox, and the ox is it's actually the first letter, which is the aleph,
Right.
and it's the ox head, and it's because the ox is one of the strongest
When he says
animals.
first letter, he means the first letter,
First letter in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
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 Because Jay
Sorry.
just be whipping out
Right.
stuff.
There ain't no first letter.
But it's cool because it's one of the strongest animals,
Right, right.
but one of the humblest animals.
Right, right.
Because it serves.
The
It serves
tails
man.
are so delicious.
Yes. Oxtail.
Oxtail. But yeah. So and then Jesus, the first shall be last. He came first as the humble servant,
Right.
so that he could be raised up as the king. And so what you're saying is very indicative of that.
Right.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
All right, man. Cool.
I've done it.
That's Jake's word for the day. We talked about doing that, didn't we? Jake's word for the day.
yeah.
That was Jake's word for the day. All right,
Segments.
yo, everybody watching, we really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. It's been a great Tuesday night once again. So if you like the podcast, remember you can support it. Go to patreon.com/YoungLionTV and you can become a member. You can donate to the cause. You can sign up to subscribe to our channel. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Go to Jatan.com and get some merch. Nobody's wearing the merch today, but we have it up there. You can get some of our stuff. You can get some Young Lion merch coming soon. We appreciate you guys. We love you. And remember, take some time and think. Don't be sheep when you can learn how to be lion. We're out of here.
Awesome.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom